Every down in Downville liked Christmas a lot, but the Talls, who lived just north of Downville, did not. The Talls hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason. It could be that his head wasn't screwed on quite right. It could be perhaps that his condom was too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his penis was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his penis, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Downs. Staring down from his cave with a sour, Talls8 frowned at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every down in Downville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Talls fingers nervously drumming. I must find a way to keep Christmas from coming. For tomorrow he knew all the Down girls and boys would wake up bright and early. They'd rush for their condoms and then, oh, the noise, oh, the noise. That's one thing he hated, the noise. Then the Downs, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast. They would start on down pudding and rare down roast beast, which was something the Talls couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every down in Downville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Downs would start singing. They'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing. And the more the Talls thought of the Down Christmas singing, the more the Talls thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Talls got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do, the Talls laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and clucked, what a great Talls8 trick. With this coat and this hat, I'll look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Talls looked around. But since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Talls? No, the Talls simply said. If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Crystal, and he took some red thread, and he tied a big horn on top of her head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up young Crystal. Then the Talls said, Giddy up! And the sleigh started down, till the homes where the Downs lay a snooze in their town. All their windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All the Downs were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first house in the square, this is stop number 1, the old Talls8 Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Talls. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two, then he stuck his head out of the fireplace, flew, where the little Down stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk, with a smile most unpleasant, around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn and plums, and he stuffed them in bags. Then the Talls very nimbly stuffed all the bags, one by one, up the chimney. And he slunk to the icebox. He took the Down's feast. He took the Down pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Talls even took their last can of Talls hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Talls, I will stuff up the tree. And the Talls grabbed the tree, and he started to shove, when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast, and he saw a small Down, little Megan Lou Down, who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this little Down daughter, who got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Talls and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why? But you know that old Talls was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little Talls, the fake Santa Claus lied, there's a light on this tree that won't light on one side, so I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here. And his fib fooled the child, then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Megan Lou Down went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then the last thing he took was the log for their fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire, and the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Downs houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Downs mouses. It was 1/4 dawn, all the Downs still abed, all the Downs still a-snooze, when he packed up his sled, packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags, and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the whoos, he was Talls8ly humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up, I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then all the Downs down in Downville will all cry, boo-hoo. That's a noise, grinned the Talls, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Talls put a hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Downville. The Talls popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every down in Downville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Talls, with his Talls feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages, boxes or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. And then the Talls thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Downville, they say that the Talls' small penis grew 3 sizes that day, and the minute his penis didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast, and he himself, the Talls, carved the roast beast. Brought to you by Dr. Hardman.